As promised, I'm doing a video on the Cocteau Twins as I continue with the letter C in my core collection. Cocteau Twins are one of my favorite bands. I'm not going to give you any biographical information about the band. You can just get that on Wikipedia. Instead, I'm going to show you my collection of Cocteau Twins albums, which is pretty extensive. I don't have every single one, but I've got most of them. Eventually, I might try to collect all of them. But I'm going to start with a bootleg, which I picked up back in the late 80s. This is called Lovers Are Mortal. It has some artwork that looks pretty much similar to the style of early 4AD. I'm not sure exactly where they took these images from, but the logo of the band is printed in dark purple on a black and white background, so it's kind of hard to see. And then the Cocteau Twins inverted spinning girl logo is also on there in dark gold, so that's hard to see also. Then it's got a little photo of the band on the back. And it's actually a pretty decent composition. It's on orange vinyl. And it was recorded at Newcastle City Hall on April 29th of 1983. So this was a very early Cocteau Twins bootleg, maybe the first one even. Sound quality is probably one of the worst albums I've ever heard for a live recording. That being said, it does contain some tracks that didn't make it onto some of their other recordings. Let's see what we have on here. For example, Here Say Please, Dear Heart. Well, at least those two were later released as CD extra tracks on the first edition of the Garlands CD. So anyway, if you want to hear a live version of those tracks, they are on here. Lovers Are Mortal. Pretty decent performances, but again, it's probably not where you'd want to start when collecting Cocteau Twins. Okay, one of their earliest EPs, if not the first one, is the Lullabies EP, which I have here. And notice the images, the front cover image and the back cover image are very similar, but they create an optical illusion. This album has pretty standard early 4AD labels. So on one side it's got just the 4AD logo, an early version of that, and the track listings. And then on the other side it has what looks like two women fixing each other's hair semi-nude, which is a motif that they used on a couple of different albums by other 4AD artists back in that period. Okay, the next album is what I call the Peppermint Pig EP, which looks like this. And then this is the back of the cover, so you can actually kind of flip it, which is sort of interesting. It has a very nice photo. I think out of the examples of all of their earliest artwork, I like this one probably the best. I don't know where that photo came from. I don't want to know. I kind of like the mystery of not knowing it. This one has another custom inner sleeve. So here again, you've got an early 4AD logo, which actually is the one that 4AD eventually stuck with the rectangular boxes. And then on the back, you've got what looks like a weedy field. So anyway, Peppermint Pig, the music's getting a lot better on this one, a lot more driving, very primal kind of rhythmic stuff with Elizabeth doing these strange ululations and odd things with her voice. It's really quavery, really good. It's not like later Cocteau Twins. Early stuff by them is a lot more dark and brooding, and you can understand the lyrics a little bit better than when they get into the mid-period. But highly recommend this EP, Peppermint Pig. So moving on, we have the first full-length LP by Cocteau Twins, which is called Garlands. So this is an original UK pressing, looks like that. It's the back cover. And then again, this is very similar. Actually, I think this might be, well, I don't know what that is. So the track listing label looks like Lullabies, but the inner label is something I've never seen before, and I don't think I've seen it on any other Cocteau Twins releases. Just kind of some abstract. Oh, it's the two women fixing their hair, but it's sort of distorted, which I had never noticed before. Yeah, learn something new all the time. Anyway, Garlands is a great album. It's 8 tracks, and they're all extremely well done. They flow together very well. As you can see, the artwork is quite different. Even the Cocteau Twins logo is different on here, if you can see that. They're using a different style of font for the album title. Imagery-wise, the cover photograph is kind of similar to some of the early Dead Can Dance compositions, especially Spleen and Ideal, which I really like. They got away from this when they moved on into their mid-period, as we shall see. But anyway, so there's Garlands. Okay, moving on past the very earliest Cocteau Twins stuff, we get into the era of Head Over Heels. So first there is the Sunburst and Snowblind EP, which has 4 tracks. Looks like this. The cover artwork is very similar to that on Head Over Heels. And again, we have a different custom inner label with another unique design on the back. So this time you've got kind of some clouds with a shooting star on the back and the 4AD logo. Very strange. This is has some good tracks on it. I wouldn't say this is one of the most essential Cocteau Twins releases, but this might actually be the first instance that we see of the new Cocteau Twins logo, which is sort of in lavender on the front cover. And the 23 envelope on the back, which I think might be on some of the other releases too, but I hadn't noticed it. Anyway, so Sunburst and Snowblind, those 4 tracks are appended to the end of the original Head Over Heels CD. Most of the original Cocteau Twins CDs had some extra tracks, and then when they were remastered and re-released back in the 2000s, they got rid of the extra tracks, but they're not that hard to come by. Okay, Cocteau Twins' second full-length album is quite different from the first. You can definitely hear a progression in sound. It's called Head Over Heels. There's an original copy like this that's glossy, and there's also a satin cover, which I've never seen. This is a very nice copy. I think I purchased this new from a record store in the 80s, probably paid about 12 bucks for it. That's usually what you'd pay for a new Cocteau Twins album back then. That's what the inner sleeve looks like, so it's got a nice custom inner sleeve. And then the labels look like this. You have we've already seen this before. And here's another 4AD Weedy Field inner label. A slightly different type of Weedy Field. This album, to me, really exhibits a lot of the influence that they were picking up from Susie and the Banshees at the time, which is a good thing. Especially, I would say, Kiss and the Dream House era, which came out, I think, in 82, and then this album came out in 83. But I like it quite a bit. There's a lot of good tracks. When Mama Was Moth, Multifoil, Tinderbox of a Heart, and the Gold Dust Rush, all great songs. Wonderful album. Definitely one you'd want to pick up for your Cocteau Twins collection. Okay, next up is an EP. This is when I tend to say they are getting into their Polynesian or Micronesian phase. With song titles like Ikea Guinea, Kookaburra, Quis Quos, Rococo. Song titles are getting more interesting and the music's getting more interesting. Here's what the inner sleeve. This one has a totally custom inner sleeve, so you can see that the label on the inside just kind of reflects the cover art with this nautilus shell, this kind of skeletal nautilus shell, and it's got sort of a gold leaf tone to it. It's really beautiful. This plays at 45 RPM like most of the other Cocteau Twins EPs do, and it's 4 fabulous compositions. This is one of the best early EPs, I think. The song Rococo tends to get overlooked, I guess because it's an instrumental, but it is one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest, songs that Cocteau Twins ever recorded. And it's a very well structured song. So the others, you start to really hear where Elizabeth's voice is taking off. It's got a new quality to it. There's a lot more woven melody lines worked into the songs, so it's really starting to pick up steam when you get to this EP. I think most people tend to call it the IKEA Guinea EP, by the way. The next album from Cocteau Twins mid-period that I'm going to show you is I guess it's called either the Spangle Maker or the Pearly Dewdrops Drops EP. Looks like this. Has very ornate cover art. This is one of the last albums that they would do that has sort of a central photo on the cover that's framed by the rest of the album cover. Then they went on to different styles. Anyway, this is the music on here is excellent. It's just fantastic music. It's what the inner labels look like, just like the IKEA Guinea EP. This one has custom inner labels that are designed to match the cover art. So not really much more I can say about this. I guess one thing I would like to mention is that the song, The Spangle Maker, might be the first song where it kind of has a very long, slow build-up, and then it just sort of musically explodes at the end, which is a feature that you'll find in a lot of Cocteau Twins songs after this, especially on the last album track. A lot of time they would, like a song such as Domino, they would just kind of let it run on a little bit with these sort of low-key atmospherics, and then it would just kind of have this big wash of sound at the end, which is really cool. So I don't know if that started on the Spangle Maker, but it's probably the first song I can think of where that sort of rose to prominence. Okay, the next one is the album Treasure, which a lot of people consider to be their finest album. It is certainly in my top 4 Cocteau Twins releases. Cover art is a little bit different on this one. It's almost a black and white composition, but there's a little bit of pink on it on the front and back. Also, the song titles are all people's names. So the first song is called Evo, which is named after the label founder for 4AD, Evo Watts-Russell. And then you have Lorelei, Beatrix, Persephone, Pandora, Forcindy, Amelia, Aloysius, Cicely, Otterly, and Donimo. The first album that they came out with that had that type of... Actually, it's the only one where they were all named after people. This one has a great custom inner sleeve. It's really, really nice. The colors are also quite different. They sort of clash with the colors on the cover. But yet at the same time, it's not really offensive to the eye. It's hard for me to explain. And the inner label, this is an original UK pressing. The inner label is designed to match the inner sleeve. So I'm not sure if the entire album was supposed to have these sort of muted brown and light green tones, and some decision was made at the end to change the cover art, or what exactly happened there. But musically, everything is just really... I don't want to get into a flight of really silly adjectives here. I'm just going to say go out and buy this album. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you like Cocteau Twins at all. This will probably end up being one of your favorite Cocteau Twins albums, if not your favorite. My favorite is Heaven or Las Vegas, but when I'm listening to this album, it's my favorite. It's just one of those kinds of records. Okay, and the next up is Cocteau Twins, the Pink Opaque, which has a nice black and white cover here. This one was created for the American market, and I understand that most copies of this have a custom inner sleeve. I've seen it on Discogs, but mine did not come with a custom inner sleeve. Mine just came with a cheap plastic sleeve, so I replaced it with a VRP sleeve that I had handy. And this is what the inner labels look like. It has custom inner labels. And all of the songs on this album were released on other Cocteau Twins compositions up to this point. So I think this came out about 1986. And so you've got songs on here from Treasure and from some of the early singles and EPs. And there's a non-album track on here called Millinery, which was on a sampler. Can't remember the name of the sampler, but I'm sure it's on Wikipedia. Anyway, this album hangs together very well, especially I think it's at the end of side 2 where the ticking at the end of Pepper Tree leads into this just explosion of sound on musette and drums. It's very, very good. So just as a compilation as an overview of early Cocteau Twins recordings, the Pink Opaque is quite an accomplishment and well worth picking up. So I'm going to end this first video here. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be picking up with other mid to later period Cocteau Twins albums in the next video. Thanks.